what the do I have to do in this council in order to get respect as a black woman?
A Boston city councilor is reportedly under federal investigation. That Tanya Fernandez Anderson is at the center of this investigation.
But my sources within City Hall say that this has been churning through the rumor mill for the last few months or so, following reports of a federal probe allegedly tied to District 7 Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson. Staff for Councilor Fernandez Anderson hung up when we called earlier today and have not responded to repeated requests for comment.
I cannot comment on the case itself. I cannot comment on it at all. I cannot comment on it at all. I cannot comment on it at all.
Earlier this morning, the FBI arrested Tanya Fernandez Anderson at her home in Dorchester for accepting $7,000 in cash in a City Hall bathroom from a member of the staff who is also a relative.
The FBI strikes again. I have a question for you guys. How does a politician go from preaching transparency to allegedly orchestrating a kickback scheme in a City Hall bathroom?
Boston City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson was arrested and taken into federal custody this morning. The FBI says she is facing federal corruption charges. An unsealed indictment shows Fernandez Anderson was indicted on 6 counts of aiding and abetting wire fraud in connection with the use of federal money through her role on the city council.
This is the bizarre tale of Boston's Tanya Fernandez Anderson, a leader who started as a voice for the people and ended up as a warning label for bad decision making. Let's get ready for a deep dive into hypocrisy, shady deals, and the $7,000 that may have cost her everything. Let's get into it. Tanya Fernandez Anderson's story began like so many political tales. A hopeful immigrant turned activist, ready to represent the people of the Boston's District 7. She championed causes for the people and stood for a symbol of change. For a city sick of stale politics, she was supposed to be the breath of fresh air, but instead of uplifting her community, Fernandez Anderson soon became a walking lesson in what not to do as a public servant.
Fight! Don't fight! What the fuck do I have to do in this fucking council in order to get respect as a black woman? And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not afraid of losing the votes. I'm not afraid of the seat. I'm not afraid of anybody here. I don't hate you as a white woman. I don't hate you as a white man. Oh my God, I can't even call you cowards because desperation deserves mercy. I am here to represent every single black woman and man that suffers in the community. I am not afraid to not be elected again. God has my back.
At first, her missteps seem more like rookie mistakes than deliberate wrongdoing. That's politics for you though. But there's a fine line between oops and federal indictment. The first red flags popped up when Fernandez Anderson decided her family reunion needed a paycheck. She hired her sister as the director of constituent services, starting her off at $65,000 before bumping her salary up to $70,000 and throwing in a $7,000 bonus for good measure. But hey, why stop there? She also brought her son into the mix, appointing him as office manager with a cool $70,000 salary. Now, nepotism isn't new in politics. Some might call it a tradition, but Fernandez Anderson didn't just tiptoe across ethical boundaries. She went full sprint, leaving Boston taxpayers footing the bill. By August 2022, the Massachusetts Ethics Commission fined her $5,000 for this blatant violation.
With the city councilor, she wouldn't go on camera, but she told me she made a mistake. The State Ethics Commission leveling a $5,000 fine against Boston City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson for putting her sister and her son on the city payroll. The councilor ended the employment of her sister and son in August of 2022.
You could say it was a slap on the wrist, but it's definitely a lot of damage to her credibility. So when you thought this issue couldn't get any more bizarre, in comes the alleged bathroom kickback scheme. So here's the setup. Fernandez Anderson reportedly gave a $13,000 bonus to a staff member, who also happened to be a relative, with a condition that $7,000 of that money will be handed right back to her. And where did this little shady exchange deal allegedly went down? In a city hall bathroom. Because if you're gonna commit fraud, why do it in the most cliche location possible?
Can you talk about the blatantness or boldness of this bathroom exchange, like you got in a city hall bathroom? Can you talk about that anecdotally? Seems a little bold.
You know, I highlighted it in my remarks because, as alleged, not only was these taxpayers' funds being stolen, but it was happening right in the building where she works. So, from my personal opinion, I think it adds to the egregiousness of this conduct.
Actually, I don't understand. Of all the places to do this, I don't know, each other's houses, Starbucks, McDonald's, again, in one of these people's homes, why did they do it in City Hall? It just seems so stupid. Just imagine a scene. The fluorescent lights are buzzing, running water, maybe someone passing gas, and an envelope of taxpayer cash exchanging hands. It's straight out of a really bad movie, except the stakes are really depressively small. $7 grand? Really? You are willing to throw away everything for $7 grand? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So of course you can't pull off some buffoonery like this and expect to get away with it, especially not in Boston, where federal investigators are practically on speed dial. So after months of whispers and speculation, the FBI showed up at Fernandez's office with subpoenas, kicking off an investigation that would completely unravel her career. The feds weren't playing around. They charged her with wire fraud and theft of federal funds. Translation, the FBI is saying that she used her office like a personal piggy bank and to enrich her family. Bad move. And why did she do it? Well, it looks like Fernandez Anderson was reportedly drowning in financial troubles. Between unpaid fines and personal debts, she was backed into a corner. Desperation is a powerful yet dangerous motivator, but embezzling public money, that is just next level poor decision making. So a couple of days ago, in December 6, 2024, Fernandez Anderson's house of cards completely collapsed. The FBI agents arrived at her Dorchester home in the early hours, took her into custody, and escorted her to face federal charges. No dramatic escape attempts, no weeping confessions, just a walk of shame straight into legal hot water. According to authorities, her behavior wasn't just unethical, it was a slap to the face to hardworking taxpayers who trusted her to do the right thing. Federal agents didn't hold back in their public statements. They described her actions as egregious and framed the bathroom kickback as an insult to the very institution of public service. And honestly, they're not wrong. Public officials dipping into taxpayer funds is bad enough, but doing it inside City Hall is like robbing a bank and taking a selfie with the vault. Boston Mayor Michelle Wu didn't waste any time calling for Fernandez Anderson's resignation. In the mayor's eyes, the charges alone were enough to make it impossible for Fernandez Anderson to continue serving effectively. And really, who can blame her? How can you focus on community issues when you're busy defending yourself against federal fraud charges?
The day after Boston City Councilor Tanya Fernandez Anderson was arraigned on federal corruption charges, Mayor Michelle Wu is again calling on her to step aside, arguing the city council's credibility is at stake.
The mayor says while there is still a legal process that has to play out, she believes the city councilor should resign.
The charges are serious enough that I believe it is of the nature that is going to undermine the ability for the public to trust and have effective representation in this case. So I think I've made my views clear on that.
Meanwhile, Fernandez Anderson pleaded not guilty, but the damage has already been done. Her name is dragged through the mud through this political scandal, and any good she might have done during her tenure was quickly overshadowed by her crimes. Tanya Fernandez Anderson's downfall is a kind of political scandal that sounds too ridiculous to be true, but if you've been on this channel, you've seen it all at this point. You got bathroom cash handoffs, you got family pay raises, and her calling herself a crusader for ethics, but she forgot to follow her own advice. This politician was full of hypocrisy. Fernandez Anderson built her brand on being transparent and accountable, calling for reforms and holding others to higher standards. But then she went to hire her own sister and her son, gave them massive pay bumps, handed out bonuses like it was monopoly money. And when she got caught, she claimed it was a mistake. Right, because accidentally paying your sister $77,000 happens all the time. And what makes this worse is the betrayal. She didn't just steal money, she stole trust. Her district, one of Boston's most vulnerable, needed real leadership. Instead, they got a leader who played Robin Hood in reverse, taking money from the public to line her own pockets. Fernandez Anderson's story isn't just a case of corruption, it's just being a hypocrite. She preached accountability while breaking every rule that she stood for. This is how it goes in a lot of these politicians. It looks like more and more are just getting corrupt. And the problem is the way they do things, it's so brazen. And the crazy part is they think they can get away with this. They're willing to commit federal crimes in City Hall. It's kind of ridiculous. In a City Hall bathroom. If you're going to be the ethics police, don't pull off heists in City Hall bathrooms. I think that's probably the biggest lesson that we all could take from this story. So a $7,000 kickback may seem like small potatoes in the grand scheme of corruption, but it's the principle that strings everything together. When public officials betray their constituents, whether it's $1 or $7,000, they destroy their trust in these institutions that's supposed to be there to serve the people. It's not just about the money, it's about the breach of faith. So as this investigation continues, there's speculation on whether other misconduct charges may come to light. Could there be more to this story? Only time will tell. What do you guys think about this story? Let me know. Put in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.